Welcome back. Let's move to our second discussion tonight on Politics HQ. Nigeria's House of Representatives Committee on Public Petitions, you might have already heard, has issued a warrant of arrest for the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso. Not just him, we have the Accountant General of the Federation, Mrs. Oluwatoyin Madein, and 17 other prominent figures. Now, this unprecedented action, you will agree, it's unprecedented, follows their refusal to appear before the committee to answer questions regarding their operations and alleged involvement in financial irregularities within the oil and gas sector. This followed the adoption of a motion by Representative Fred Agbedi of Bayelsa State PDP at the committee's hearing on Tuesday. Agbedi said that the arrest warrant had become inevitable following the attitude of the CEOs of these organizations who had been invited 4 times by the committee but failed to respond. He also said that the CEOs should be brought to appear before the committee by the Inspector General of Police through a warrant of arrest after due diligence by the Speaker of the House, Representative Tajudeen Abbas. Now, in his ruling, the chairman of the Committee of Public Petitions, Representative Michael Irom, APC Cross River, said that the IGP, that's Nigeria's Inspector General of Police, should ensure that these heads of agencies were brought before the committee by or on December 14, and the arrest warrant was issued based on petition filed by Mr. Fidelis Uzonwannem, who, very interestingly, cited the 2021 Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative NEITI report as evidence of potential fraud and money laundering in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. Uzonwannem alleges, and we must underline the word alleges, that NEITI concealed crucial information in its report, allowing companies like Total, Chevron, and Nigerian Ajib Oil Company to receive millions of dollars without proper accounting or transparency. Don't forget, this NEITI report for 2021 was all over the news. We even discussed it on this program. It was announced to pomp and pageantry. Now, we'll look further at the details of the petition as we proceed on the program, but it's time to introduce our guest for the discussion. Ufeli is a legal practitioner. He joins me right here in the studio. Trice, Emeka is a public affairs analyst as well. He joins us via video link. Evans, it's good to have you on the program tonight. Thank
you. Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And of course, Obi, you're not here in the studio, so I can't extend my hand to you, but it's good to see you where you are. Thank you so much for your time. All right. Okay, let's start with you, Evans. This is quite a ground, shaking development, but the NEITI report seemed to have been a groundbreaking one, a ground-shaking one, because it also came out with some revelations. And this man is now saying that NEITI was playing all of us. So what are your thoughts on the petition and the claims, the allegations by Mr. Fidelis Uzonwannem?
Well, this petition and the claims, they sprang up from investigation that have been carried out, and some very specific members of the public institutions, major public institutions like the CBN, the AGF, and the rest of them have been fingered to have, been involved in financial impropriety in the oil sector. Okay, and an invitation has been extended to them to come before the House. That right to appear before the House is predicated under Section 88 and 89 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. The rights of Parliament to oversight, any institution or persons, you understand? So their refusal to appear before the House is contempt. Now, that is an offense in its own. So now the warrant of arrest is the right way to go, because when the House invites you and there's a decline, even though it is not, the House don't go this far before now, but this is a development in the making that once you are invited, because the Constitution empowered these people, the Parliament, to carry out this oversight function.
But are they allowed by law to themselves issue a warrant of arrest, or do they have to request for that warrant to be issued through the IGP?
No, nobody can prepare a warrant of arrest. Even the police cannot do that themselves. They have to apply to the court. Okay, so that warrant is procured through the court. Okay, whichever way you look at it, whether for search, whether for arrest, whether for whatever it is through the court. Okay, and that can be done even by a private citizen.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it can be done, yes, by a private citizen. You can't do that as a private citizen can arrest. Yes, you can arrest someone.
And go to court and just apply.
Yes, it's an allegation. Nobody has committed an offense here. As we speak, it's an allegation until everybody is presumed innocent until the contrary is proven. That's our law. So they have to go down this lane because before now, those who occupy offices, they have been brazen in their approach to public affairs. And right now, I think the parliament is taking it at the right direction so that we must come to that point where it will no longer be business as usual, that people must be accountable to the public, because that is the oath they took to defend the Constitution, and part of which is to be transparent and accountable.
Very interesting. Let's go over to our guest who joins us via video link, and of course, he also will be giving his thoughts on this. Obi, if you are there and you can hear me, what are your thoughts on the details, some of the allegations that this gentleman is making? I want us to look at some of the details before I come to you. He said, quote, we took up the challenge to examine the report and discovered that what NEITI put together is a report, or as a report, is only consolidation of fraud. NEITI, fraud. And we never thought we'd see both words in the same sentence.
Yes.
That has been going on in the oil and gas industry. He says it dates back to 2016 because we have been following it, and we put up a petition to this committee to examine what has happened. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. He also said the 2024 budget of 27.5 trillion naira that has been proposed can be confidently funded from the recoverable amount. That's a big allegation that we identified in the NEITI report. Let's keep going. He also went on to say it is, quote, it is basically a concealment of illegal transactions that took place in NNPCL. They have been in sync with some oil companies where some companies that did not produce crude oil or crude were paid cash call and an amount paid for crude oil production. He went on to say, he also said, quote, we also found that the cash call payment was used as a channel for money laundering or for laundering funds by the NNPCL, and we found out that NEITI was able to conceal it in its report. He said, quote, in 2021, NEITI reported that Total, Exploration and Production Nigeria Limited, was paid $168 million, but examination of submission by the company shows that it received $292 million US dollars. He also said, in other words, $124 million was laundered by the NNPCL through Total because monies that have been officially paid to Total could not have been concealed if it were not meant for fraudulent purposes, is what he said. Another one, also for Chevron, quote, it says the dollar payment NEITI puts forward in its report was $76 million, but the documents emanating from Chevron showed that they received as much as $267 million US dollars. In other words, he said, quote, $191 million was laundered under the cover of Chevron, and NEITI concealed that. Also, Nigeria Ajip Oil Company received, he said, quote, $188 million, but none of it was reported by NEITI, end of quote. That these are allegations. We must state that we cannot confirm at this point, and we will wait for NEITI to have their say, but that's why the House is inviting the relevant authorities to come and answer. We're waiting. Now, Obi, what in your opinion, why in your opinion, rather, have the officials so mentioned and so invited in connection with this petition refused to show up?
Well, thank you for having me in the studio, or no, from the comfort of my home. But I must say, the House of Assembly, over time has become synonymous with issuing summons, frequently, or as their mood dictates. And most times, it also affects the work other public officers and private individuals are doing. It is their job within the framework of the Constitution to summon anybody within the purview of the law to, examine whatever they want to do. And the frequency of these summons have become so much. I remember Fashola complaining when he was Minister of Works that every time you're being summoned by the National Assembly to appear for very little matters that they can investigate themselves, what they can actually write, what they can actually write and receive communication, basic communications can resolve. They'll just keep summoning you, and maybe some of this, maybe the CBN, I'm not speaking on behalf of the CBN governor. I know some public official may found this unnecessary summon bothersome, that every time they need to be summoned to explain what could be, gotten by mere writing to the CBN or to any of those public officers and say, please, this is what have been brought before us. Can you clarify us on this, rather than saying someone, you disturb the workflow, especially now where all hands need to be on deck to make the economy function. I've seen the report and the allegations being made, but the one we are yet to get the substance to those allegations. I don't know whether the petitioner has tendered maybe the financial statement from any of these companies he has quoted. We do not know the ground from which he saw those figures that he says are contrary figures from one NEITI published. But I suppose that the first step the National Assembly should do is to try to reconcile those figures published, to speak to those oil companies, to get their financial statement for the year, look at their cash flow, look at what is coming in, look at what is going out, and reconcile and say, has this gentleman established basic, has he made any basic facts that demands more examination? And I don't think they have done that. They have just read his petition. The next thing is to summon the CBN governor. I think they should start by doing the fundamentals, trying to reconcile and see if there are sufficient evidence between what the gentleman has put in his petitions. And the basic is to speak to the oil companies themselves, see their financial statements,
all right,
and see if there is anything to dig further.
Okay, very interesting. Let's come back to you, Evans. Is this a situation of corruption fighting back? Because, if we look at the NEITI report of 2021 that was presented some months ago, it uncovered, some disturbing facts about lack of transparency in Nigeria's oil and gas sector.
Yes.
I'm going back to, we had a conversation on this station about it, several actually. For instance, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission or agency, the NUPRC, you have the Minister of Finance, all were fingered in that report. In fact, it was said to be NEITI opening the Pandora's box of corruption in the oil and gas sector. Yes. They had an audit report that talked about financial discrepancies within the sector. That as of July 31, 2023, there was a total outstanding tax debt of 13.591 million naira owed FIRS, and also they talked about as of December 31, 2022, 8.251 billion naira in the Federation account was still unpaid to the NUPRC. So we're looking at all these inflows meant to come into government coffers. Do you think maybe in subtly there's some fight going on because of that report to try and hit them back?
Well, I see that it's corruption fighting all around, okay? Because if you look at the oil and gas sector in this country, there have been a lot of, even with the humongous regulations that permeate that sector, because if you are talking about regulations in this country, it's the oil sector. That is where you have multiple regulations. But, where there's collusion, there's criminal concert, okay? It's the reason we are the way we are right now. You see poverty everywhere, you see the waste everywhere, but you see the humongous wealth sitting on the poverty. So at the end of the day, what you have is people now are fighting one another based on the corruption that has gone under the waters. NNPC have never helped matters at all. NNPC being the lead regulator here, have consistently colluded with these multinationals, okay, to rip Nigeria off. And these corruptions, it's unfortunate that even the foreign oil companies, okay, are dragged because they are also culpable, largely so. How be it that this is an allegation? It's an allegation to the extent that we are reading this report, but we have also, in time past, seen cases where these companies are, heavily involved in corruption.
But have you heard, Evans, that any of the government agencies, even the Parliament, they have said, okay, NEITI, we want to look at your report, we want to investigate it as well. Because if you're investigating, inviting these guys to come answer for these allegations, based off of the petition, there should also probably be an investigation for the revelations from the NEITI report.
They should. The truth is, you see, investigation is orchestrated based on petition. There's a committee on public petition in the National Assembly. Now, you see, the investigation can only start when there's a petition before the House. The House will not suo motu, like we speak in law, decide that, okay, we want to investigate. It's open to the public. Bring your petitions, okay? Now, and what they are doing by extending hands of invitation, it is not to witch hunt anyone, as far as I know, but is to look at the report. So from the other end, you take your petition there, whoever feels that someone, but what you must also do.
But we have a House committee on upstream, on downstream,
yes,
on public account. We have a public accounts committee, for instance.
Yes.
All these guys can, on their own initiative, do something about it.
Of course, but there must be an allegation and a petition coming from someone.
The NEITI report is there.
Yes.
It was submitted, in front of the public, the press.
Yes.
They have access to it.
They have access to it, but, they have their own discretion as to which they want to undertake or not.
All right.
And also the plenary or the committee in section can also refer matters to them,
all right,
especially when it falls on their purview.
Okay.
Because the issue is that it is not even the Committee on Public Petition that determines all these cases.
All right.
Once they get a petition, they look at it, what sector.
All right. They'll
So
push it there.
they now assign
We're out of time. I just want to quickly ask you, do you believe or do you feel that the likes of Olayemi Cardoso, Accountant General, will be arrested? Also, what signal will this send for the Nigerian economy?
Why won't he be arrested?
Cardoso is the head of Nigeria's, the monetary arm of Nigeria's government. And,
of course.
Anything that happens with the CBN governor, sends signals to local, international investing economy, a community, and affects the economy. Should the House think more critically and deeply about it?
If he fails to appear before the House, because they're empowered by law to, that is him breaching the Constitution. So he will be arrested. He can be arrested, irrespective of the economic implication.
All right. Evans, we have to go. I want to thank you very much for your time. Obi as well, who joined us via Zoom. I want to thank you so much for your time. I don't know whether we can say the ghost of Emefiele is still haunting the Central Bank of Nigeria, but we'll see what happens at the end of the day. My name is Kofi Bartels. We'll return with more tomorrow on Politics HQ. Good night.